and are tasked to create a new economic model for Malaysia. What do we want to be by 2020? As everybody says, if you ask anybody in Malaysia, what is 2020? They say it's a great thing, but if you go down to specifics, they wouldn't know how to explain it. And so the question, we have to do is, 2020 is not that far away, and we need to, make it more concrete. So members, gathered around and thought through these issues and asked 5 key questions. Number 1, where are we? Number 2, what's happening around us? Number 3, what advantages do we have? Number 4, where do we want to be? And number 5, how do we get there? So these are issues that are very relevant. You are all accountants, and if you write a report for your client, that's exactly what you would do. You do a stock take, you will see what the problems are, and then you say what the recommendations are. Now, where are we? It's very clear that since the Asian crisis, we were a star growth economy, right? We grew very, very well up until the Asian crisis. Then, post-crisis, we were virtually number 2, as you can see on the left-hand side, right? And post-crisis, we've clearly slipped into the middle group. And that, in a sense, is the middle income trap. It's very easy to grow when you're smaller, you're nimble, and you're faster. But with the Asian crisis, we are now moving, in a sense, to the age of giants. If you really look at the fastest growing countries in the world, India, China, Brazil, and including Indonesia, right? These giants have grown, and they're moving very, very fast indeed. Now, it's clearly, an issue that we need to think about. And if you really look at, I'm sorry, there's some problems with the typos, but Korea, Taiwan, and all these, they may appear to grow slower, but you must remember Korea is already an OECD country. So, and they have just published a Korean competitive report. So you just type Korea competitive report, and you'll see what they are doing about improving their competitiveness all around. Now, if we talk to the major investors, they clearly say we have serious problems on our hands. As inflow of foreign direct investments and private investments have slowed down. Part of it is due to available talent and skills. We've seen large outflows of talent and skills. You as accountants would know this. You're losing a lot of your middle level accountants, particularly to areas like Singapore, Hong Kong, and China. And of course, some of the investors complain about cumbersome red tape. Now, that issue is very clear that what has happened, the number of expatriates working in this country actually has declined, particularly after the crisis, but the number of cheap labor has actually increased. So we have a very strange situation in which, to a large extent, more and more talent are leaving, or rather net export, rather than import, and we're importing the cheap labor. That cheap labor force is not helping us move up the value-added curve. And part of it is due to education, and we totally understand the education has been very successful in broadening the education base. But like all employers, there is a major complaint that the fit between the curriculum and the employer's needs are not matching. And it's a serious problem, not just in Malaysia, but everywhere else. I mean, when I was in Hong Kong, that's a common complaint. They complain that they're not hiring Hong Kong graduates because they say if you're only Cantonese speaking and your English is not up to the mark, they prefer to hire a Singaporean who can speak English and who is good in Chinese and who can immediately employable in the business. So if the universities are not meeting these needs, there are serious issues. Now the interesting point is that the dominance of low skill levels across almost all industries. We haven't upgraded We haven't paid, and we're in this vicious circle. We can't pay people very much, and if the productivity is not up, you can't afford to pay them, right? So these are real issues. And doing business in Malaysia has proved difficult, because if we were to measure, if you really look at the World Bank sort of analysis, starting business, doing business, etc., much slower than any of the others. And we begin to lose out to our Asian neighbors, right? Especially spending less on scientific research, right? Compared to even India and China, our R&D, is much lower. Now, the simple answer is, if you don't pay people enough, they can't consume. They can't consume, you don't get growth, right? And after this current crisis, it's very clear we no longer can completely rely upon exports. It's not that we'll still not rely upon exports. It's that the consumption demand from the export side is going to be constrained. So you actually have a widening income gap that's occurring. So all these deficiencies are preventing us from moving forward. The fact that the education sector, the low income, ineffective silos, control pricing system, ethnic-based policies, loss of top talent, labor market distortion, perception, and private sector, short-sightedness. Now, if this is a very frank self-assessment, and we have to be very frank about this, that we are doing well, but others are doing better, and there are areas where we don't get there. But what's happening around us? What's happening around us is there are 5 major issues in which an advanced country, everybody's heading towards. Everything is about people. The slogan, you've heard this many times, our greatest asset are our people, and that's absolutely right. But how much are we investing in our people is very crucial here. Now, up to there's about leadership, there's about governance, there's about profits and productivity, and there's about planning. Because if you have good people, we want it to be environmentally sustainable. We want to have high productivity. We want to have good governance, and we want to have strong leadership. So then